Welcome back, everybody. So today I actually have a tutorial by request. Someone asked me how to draw headphones, or at least I should do a tutorial on how to use headphones on furries. And when I got on the request, I thought, well, that's simply just throw headphones on. Then I realized I never put headphones on Anthro ears, and that was a huge mistake. Because as it turns out, Anthro ears don't like headphones, as I've discovered. So I had to do a bit of research for this one, and I had to fiddle around with a couple of things. I had to work with designs. I had to kind of figure out how this worked, because I want to do a tutorial on this, because it seems like something that people would use. I mean, a lot of furries are like metalheads or music heads. I shouldn't say metalheads, but and you'd see a lot of people with headphones on, and I think I've only drawn it like twice, and both times I think I struggled a lot with it, and I didn't think at all that that would be a good tutorial. So good on you, actually suggesting or telling me to do tutorials for stuff. So this is going to be a bit more of a quick and dirty tutorial, because there's really no purpose in going super in depth. It's much more a case of like the style of the headphones vary. So what I have here is I have 4 different line arts that I've already prepared, and I'm just going to show a few different ways to do headphones on them. And also, just so it's known, that's the undersketch, these are the oversketch, and then this, I always stick with my own rules. But I actually went through already, and I just kind of did some headphones already. So I'm going to show these, I'll go through with them real quick, and then I'm going to delete the layer, and I'm going to redraw them, just so I can explain what's going on. And again, these are going to be in addition to the line arts already made. I'll make alterations to the line art, and I'm not really going to cover that, but that's because it's pretty simple erasing stuff. Just make sure you use different layers, yada yada. We've been through this stuff before. So let's show what I did. I also went kind of insane with the wires because I could. So the first one up here is just a very simple headphone, like what you'd normally expect to have. I actually based these on a brand that I had before called V-Modas. I don't know if anybody uses them, but it's just a band with a thing underneath it, or not a band, a little plate with a thing underneath it, and the band going over, resting on her head. Pretty straightforward in how that works. Down here is the same thing, but the band is actually more upwards than forwards, so instead of being down here, it's pulled up, as that's more naturally what headphones would be like, so I figured I'd have that example in here as well. Down here are earbud style. Now, I noticed that earbuds work differently with Anthro ears than human ears. Human ears have a lot of nooks and crannies, and earbud manufacturers take advantage of that with how they're designed and how they're shaped. But with Anthro ears, they're all very unique, and they don't really have that as much. So they need to have a very large cushion, or a very large area to help hold them down or hold them in. But you could have something small to go into the ear canal. That would be really uncomfortable. So I would, for the sakes of this, I'm ignoring that. I'm just making them rather large, and there's things in there. I'll explain that more so when we get to it. And up here is, in my mind, the thing that would make the most sense. These are just clips that clip onto around the ear, and either they're connected along the top, and I don't have a cable running down through the back, or they're just simply wireless and Bluetooth. That would probably make the most sense, but not everything's going to be wireless, not everything's going to be Bluetooth, but these just clip on, and they have the speaker dangling underneath, or they could clip on from underneath and have it flipping up. So personally, I think that would make the most sense, and I might stick with that one in the future, but obviously if someone needs it to look like headphones, headphones are better to go. So I'm going to delete that layer, and I'm going to redraw them for you all, because that is how this works. Let's use a color that's easy to see. Orange. Haha. And I'll be doing this above, just so it's easier as well. So the first things here are going to be the ones that are leaning forward, that you'd probably see a bit more naturally. So we're going to start in here with the ear. So what you see here is just the outsides. The actual insides of the ears can go all the way down here almost. Or in this case, they probably just have a huge hole right here, or a hole like that big or something. And that's where the actual ear canal is. So we have to keep that in mind when we're doing these things, and that's true for all of these, but especially with headphones because they're supposed to like wrap around. They're supposed to be more encompassing. And wraparound headphones doesn't work much when this is the ear you need to wrap around. I mean, can you imagine what those would look like? Ugh. So what we're doing is all these are going to be inside the actual ear itself. So if you start with just an oval shape, this is like the foam padding around it, or the soundproofing or insulation. We're ignoring the stuff that'll be covered up real quick. And the things I'm basing these on have like this outer hexagonal plate. I believe it's a brand thing, but honestly, I incorporated it in because it's how I do this. So, add this in, and normally this would be, really, really consistent and smooth going around, but there's really no purpose to that because that's not going to be visible in the slightest. In fact, this is what's going to be visible, this is what's going to be visible, so not hugely important that that happens. And then the way that these normally work is they clip upwards like this, but for this, I'm imagining that this is rotational, as you have to imagine that these need to work for any species, so they're going to have little tiny quirks to them, unless you have them specially built for a certain species, but that, realistically, companies probably wouldn't be willing to do that. They'd probably just make one device that's adjustable for as many different species as they can. So I'd imagine that there's probably like a little hinge in here, and the actual thing attaches to it, sticking out, and this hinge can rotate around. So, and probably lock in place or something just so it's less of a bother for people. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have this actually sticking out here. Plus, artists out there, this isn't an excuse just to have this angle sticking out wherever. So, as long as you can explain things properly. Secret tip, just explain your random BS stuff properly and it's totally fine. So, little pole sticking out, and these headphones, I'm basing these on, look them up if you want just so you understand, but they have this other plate sticking out. I haven't owned these headphones in like a year, so I could be wrong as well. And then they would just kind of stick around. They would go around the head like this. And you'd probably see them just beginning to loop around, so they do something like this. And then as we kind of bring this back a little bit and redefine that so it's easier to see for tutorial sakes. There you go, and you wouldn't see it on the other side, but I don't know, if you want to, you can have something like that. Now, the cables generally actually come out of the right side. So, in this case, it would be something like this, sticking out on that side. But the cables can stick out of both ends. For this, I'm actually going to erase the stuff we wouldn't see, just so this makes a bit more sense. So, as we erase all this away, and I'll go through and erase the line work as needed, but that's what would be actually inside. And the cable, I don't know, probably would be sticking out of the middle just for the sake of, again, this needs to be used for as many different species as possible, and the middle will probably be the most clear. While it would be the most awkward to see, it would be the most useful for as many different species as possible, because that's the part that'll be sticking out. That, or the cables will run up here and stick out at that end, but I don't know, I kind of like the aesthetic of sticking out there. So you have that very simple headphone design. It's just a band out front, like a stick going in, and then a couple of ovals with a thing on it. And you don't have to have this hexagon, you could have anything here. It could just be a logo, it could just be a giant mass of who cares. It's perfectly fine. So let's actually jump down here. Why am I jumping down there? No, I'm going to do this over here. I'm going to have the other style of the same headphone right next to it. Ha. So this thing will start off much the same way. Just kind of throw an oval down inside of the ear canal. And this character also has gauges and piercings and stuff. I kind of neglected those, or at least I don't want to add them in yet because this stuff will get in the way quite a bit. I'm actually going to put in the hexagon first, just for the sakes of it doesn't overlap anything awkwardly. So, and it's at a weird angle. Normally it would be actually still kind of rupee shaped, but it would be not nearly as thin as this, but due to it being at an angle, you have to take that stuff into consideration. And then there would just be the oval going around it. This is the cushioning for it. Soundproofing, yeah. And much in the same way that stuff would rotate around. this I'm gonna have sticking up, more so like a more traditional set of headphones would be. Making sure that stuff actually has dimension to it, and then it just kind of goes around like this. Designed much the same way, but angled upwards would probably have some different connotations to it instead of angled straight forwards. For one, this one may look like it's being more worn, and this one may look like it's just drooping down and nobody cares about it. So you can use things as needed. And the cable sticking out in the middle. You know, we're going to have this cable sticking out somewhere else just because that'll be more interesting when I more finalize these. So this cable will actually be attached there. It'll probably have to run like behind the head or something, but that's fine. That's perfectly fine. We can manage that. So as I erase this, only erasing the things that would be hidden behind the actual flaps of the ears. There you go. So now that one is done as well. So moving on to the earbud style. Now, the earbud styles are very weird because honestly you can just do that and say done. Who cares? No one's gonna notice. But throwing in a couple of little like ticks to it will probably help out a lot more. So the way I imagine earbuds in the furry world working is it's like this square in the middle, or this shape in the middle. This is where the speaker is, so that's how that would work. And so they design all the padding around it to be flexible, so that not on one side though, but this padding would be flexible just so that when you try to actually put it in your ear, it'll stay, instead of under normal circumstances if it was like a normal earbud. So if we just kind of throw in a normal earbud here, and then like that, that's supposed to go into your ear canal. That would be really awkward. So how this is going to work is it's going to be more so just a shape, and then probably out of the last side is where the cable would run out of and then hook up to the other cables. So again, I could be wrong in this design. Feel free to kind of experiment as you want, because different anatomy requires different technologies to be designed. So if you can have some fun in how these things are made. In all honesty, I mean, that's perfectly fine. The last like side I imagine would be down here. So if we look at this as it were full, there you go. So this last fold would be down here, probably not into the ear canal, it would probably be up here, kind of trying to come back out. But since this whole thing is pressed in, these will angle upwards and will help hold the whole system in place, which is very important for earbuds, because oftentimes earbuds are used for, you know, working out or running, or for just privacy and just being discreet. So having this be forced in or pushed in will help keep them from falling out for any weird activities, or just not be nearly as noticeable as a whole band system. And as these things normally go, probably sticking out of the middle again just for ease of use, and then it would attach down below and go over to the other one, because earbuds need to have both of them attached, and all these could just be wireless. They really could be. Now we go on to the last one, my personal favorite design. Now the way I see these things working is it's just a clip that just attaches to the back of the ear, probably has adjustable like knobs on it so that it's more universally used, and just for cheapness' sakes or for comfort's sakes, they wouldn't have the middle in it. It would just be this outer rim to it, and on the inside there would be just a thing that just goes down. It goes into the ear. This would be in the vein of earbuds. These wouldn't be in the vein of full headphones. But this style of earbud would make more sense to me than this, mostly because a clip, while it would be a bit more annoying, if you have a well-made clip, that'll be very, very universal for different species, and it would just look better than having this like piece of foam that you jam into your ear. Having a clip attachment would be really, really good. And before, I just had a cable running between it up here, but admittedly that probably would look really, really weird, and it would try to force your ears together. So either it would have a spring in the middle or some type of extra distance just so you can do that. But even then, emotions would be a little bit weird with that type of system. So this would probably be doing the same thing, but it would probably come out at the top here just so it's out of the way as many things as possible. And it would just kind of fold around. Now, to elaborate on this design a little bit further, I'm just going to kind of draw this clip in. And this clip could also just be, it doesn't have to be metal, it could be anything else. And so this would be the clip in the back. So, just so you can see what I'm thinking here. And so this is the clip would be behind. And then on this side, it'd be a little bit thicker, a little bit wider. And all the electronics would be held in this part going down. And down here would actually be the speaker. And it would probably have some layer of insulation around it, just so that the noise doesn't creep out as much. So all this would be insulation around it. And then have electronics be in here, or even in the base of the speaker, or a thing in the base of here. That's where electronics would go, and the cable would come out. Or even you could have just a cable, and all the major electronics are housed in the cable. I mean, it's not like you see those the styles with the buttons on them for the different audio settings. So this, to me, makes the most sense. I could be totally wrong, and I don't know, someone leave a comment saying how I'm completely and absolutely wrong, and that's perfectly acceptable. But these are just a handful of designs that I'd come up with when I was doing this. I'm going to go through and line these in and do another quick run through just so you can look at them lined in before I color them. I'll see you real soon. And welcome back. So as you can tell, I kind of went through the entire thing, colored it, shaded it, made it all look pretty, and just for fun I even made the headphones on the top here, different colors but the same styles, just because same headphone or same brand headphones but different kinds. Maybe this person's just so rich they just afford multiple different sets of headphones. Like, these are more bassy, these are for country music, I don't know, who cares, their thing, not mine. So again, this tutorial is supposed to be a lot simpler and a lot easier to understand the other ones. While I did go through a lot of different styles, I kind of sped through them, and I didn't change the character design at all to fit the headphones. I more so made the headphones fit the character design, and I think that was probably smarter, just so that you can use these headphone designs for your own characters yourself. So again, this was a suggestion made by someone, partially like, hey, maybe you should do this, and partially, hey, I need help with this. So if any of you have suggestions for future tutorials, for super tutorials, yes, super tutorials are suggested tutorials from now on. How about we do that? If you have any suggestions for super tutorials, then let me know. My email's at the end of this video. And if you end up using anything that you've seen in the videos here, like if you end up, say, using this style of headphones, send me a link. I want to see what you make. I love seeing those things. It always makes my day. So, with that, have a wonderful day. Goodbye.